All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave back again, talking about real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. Yeah. All right. So, Eric Clapton has this really cool gig coming up, and it's kind of crickets from the so-called rock media because they're not doing classic rock anymore. It's like the Foo Fighters or classic rock, and at that point, I'm just someone, by the way, coined the term, and he's a friend of mine. He said he calls the Foo Fighters the Foo Fizers. I love that. The Foo Fizers are playing a gig, and they're requiring triple doses of the wonderful potion. That's all I want to say about that. Anyway, Eric Clapton is playing this ginormous concert in Bahrain. Okay, it was announced, I believe, yesterday, and you can find this information. I know it's hard to find, but if you go to ericclapton.com, and there is a tab, and you click on the tab is where'seric.com. Well, Eric is going to be playing, I think, a rather historic concert at the El Dana Amphitheater, Bahrain's newest live entertainment destination, and it's coming up on Saturday, March the 19th. Now, if you have tons of disposable income, I would suggest you get your tickets, board a plane, and go to Bahrain. The amphitheater itself is literally carved out of rock. All right. It's such a remarkable feat of engineering. And it was built approximately 50 feet into the ground of the spectacular Sakir Desert. Sounds like a cool place to see a show, eh? I know people love Red Rocks out in Colorado. This to me seems like it might be even better than Red Rocks, but of course, I've been to neither place, so I can't really compare. Eric's band for these shows features the brilliant Chris Stainton, Nathan East, who's no slouch, Sonny Emery, and Doyle Bramhall II, along with Sharon White. Now, Doyle, very interesting, was in one of my favorite bands of the early 90s that went poof like that. I'm talking about the Archangels, who, if you remember, were really big on rock radio for about, I want to say, almost a year. But Sent by Angels, I mean, I just destroyed that, killed that song, and really disappointed because what happened in the 90s? Well, music began to really suck. And, the Black Crowes were there for a little while too, along with Archangels, and all that stuff quickly evaporated in favor of the much better grunge music, which didn't destroy rock, which didn't do anything to deter bands that were producing melodic rock. And in the case of roots rock, yeah, I mean, hey, roots rock survived great, right? That's why the Archangels came and left, and that's why the Black Crowes took a nosedive, and everybody else who was trying to make a living at that time not performing the music of the establishment, which became grunge. Okay, yeah, I know, grunge, the establishment, right? I can't believe I went off on a tangent here about grunge, but that's because I was talking about Archangels, and Archangels were really a cool band featuring Doyle Bramhall II. All right. So it's kind of weird because this is a big deal. I would think media coverage on this has been kind of non-existent. Wonder why? Is it because this particular place isn't requiring that patrons wear an oxygen inhibitor for the show? That they don't show up with a proof of doing the thing over at Walgreens? They don't need a QR code. They don't need paperwork. They can just waltz right in there and breathe air freely. I mean, is that why nobody is covering this? Could be. Look, Eric Clapton is going to be proven right when the history books someday are written, if they're written honestly, as this entire thing unravels before us, and we're seeing it in real time. It's not being reported on in real time, but I can tell you this, the number of stories that I used to read on these so-called rock websites about how this band is canceling a show because somebody in the crew got the thing, or this band is lecturing people about not doing what they're supposed to do, and so forth. And that was like a daily thing almost, or every other day. But it was very constant. Sometimes it was multiple stories a day. You know, the dude from The Offspring telling parents that they're selfish for wanting to take the oxygen inhibitors off their children. I'm dead serious. Go Google, use whatever you want. It should still be out there, unless they're going to eventually scrub all of these articles where these people who think they're experts in science are lecturing parents and how they're supposed to raise their children in an age where the state basically wants to control your kids as it is. So, I mean, it's very frightening. And I'm calling BS on all of it. And that's why I'm doing this video, because this is kind of a big deal. Eric Clapton at this amazing amphitheater. This is the type of concert that you might want to have some audio recordings made or video recordings made of the entire show. I'm sure it's going to be just spectacular. I know Eric wants to get back out there and perform. I think he feels like a lot of other musicians that if you're not doing what you were born to do, you're not doing your craft, eventually you atrophy a little bit and you can't do what you once did. You have to keep practicing. Roger Daltrey, one of his biggest fears is he won't be able to sing anymore if he's not out there constantly singing. Whereas I don't think Pete Townsend really cares all that much anymore about performing, but the two of them are going out there and they're, of course, covering that story, but they're really not covering this ginormous concert event with Eric Clapton and some super brilliant musicians who, of course, are along for the ride and are apparently loyal to Eric Clapton despite his views on certain topics, which I guess we're all just supposed to shun one another when we don't agree and walk in lockstep, right? Because that's the new normal. You know, if you don't believe this certain thing, then obviously we don't want to be your friend anymore. We don't want to promote you. And this is what this is all about. Why run articles about Eric Clapton's massive concert in Bahrain? Why even cover it, right? It's not newsworthy. It's just Eric Clapton doing the occasional gig. And, you know, he's got new material out there, which, let's be honest, the new stuff he's got out there is as good as anything he's done in his career. And they just don't want to tell you that. His last song that he released right on Christmas Eve, it's called The Heart of a Child. Normally, in a balanced world, in a proportional world, that song here, even in the United States, would be all over radio. Adult contemporary stations, we don't really have the same rock station format because they don't play anything that's acoustic or has a mandolin in it. I think they just ban it as soon as they hear real organic instrumentation. They can't have that. So it would normally go on an AC radio station format. Yeah, you're not going to hear it on any station here. You're going to hear like Justin Timberlake and, you know, what you saw at the Super Bowl. Maybe you'll see, maybe, I don't know where they play that stuff. I guess top 40 or has been rap stations. I don't know. Anyway, the bottom line with all of this is that Eric Clapton is playing a really cool gig in a really cool place. And apparently nobody's covering it but me. And you wonder why Eric Clapton decided to go on and talk to me, because I still, to this day, think there are other people who could have spoken to Eric Clapton and done so and done a great job and probably would have gotten Eric Clapton a lot more exposure, based on what he was talking to me about. But he decided to talk to me because I like Eric Clapton. I think his views are fine. And even if I didn't think his views were fine, I certainly don't want to censor anybody who I disagree with, which is the new normal now. So there you have it. Eric Clapton in Bahrain. If you can get tickets for that and jump on an airplane or do what you have to do to get there, it appears that it's going to be a really big deal and a great show. All right, I am done mocking everybody, and except for Eric Clapton, of course. Thanks for watching the videos, for subscribing to the channel, new patrons coming on board over on Patreon. And yes, I have another channel, which you can click on the link on the banner page to find that other channel, which is similar to this channel, but it's straight up political commentary, whereas this is political commentary mixed with talk about music. So that's the difference. And we'll continue to do both channels. Hopefully we'll grow both channels, and I can retire in a dignified way someday, just like Eric Clapton is supposed to.